Hello everyone, it's Joe here from Draft FPL and we are back with a weekly series helping you find some good value free agents and waiver pickups in Draft FPL. Alright, we are back. Game week 2. Game week 1 was an interesting one. We had some ups, we definitely had some downs, some early subs, some red cards, some own goals. FPL is absolutely back. So let's see what we can rustle up for this week. If you enjoy the video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. If you are new, check out the Patreon if you want to access everything that we have to offer at Draft FPL with weekly articles, cheat sheets, everything you could need to win your Draft FPL league. Let's get stuck into the picks. Okay, so starting off with defenders, first up we've got Rico Lewis, available in 64% of draft leagues, and that data is courtesy of draftfc.co.uk. As always, there's a link down below in the description. They've got all sorts of useful metrics and data that you can use to help your Draft FPL experience. Use code SNAKEDRAFT for a 1 month free trial, completely free. You don't need to pay anything. You can check it out for yourself, see if it's something you'd find useful, cancel if you don't like it. But I do personally use it quite a lot and find it very, very useful. Looking at Rico Lewis specifically, I think it's absolutely worth gambling on him just for this one fixture alone. I think he played well versus Chelsea, and I think he's going to keep his place at right back. It's him versus Kyle Walker, really. Kyle Walker is getting on a bit, and okay, yes, he's still very quick, but I do think Rico Lewis has a lot more to offer on the ball, and I think especially when Pep likes his fullbacks to come inside a lot more, I think Rico Lewis is just better at it, to be honest, than Kyle Walker is. It does, I think, make a difference who's playing on the right, because if it's Foden or Bernardo Silva, then I think Walker is slightly more likely to play than if it's Savio, Bob or Doku, who's going to play more as a natural winger and hold the width, and therefore the right back's going to come inside a little bit more. But we saw Lewis do kind of both jobs against Chelsea and do them very well. I think this might be the year he actually keeps his place as the first choice right back for the most part, and I think he's, in my opinion, he's very, very likely to start against Ipswich. I don't see any reason for him to come out of the team, and City have by far the highest chance of a clean sheet of any team this week, so it's kind of an absolute no-brainer to pick up if he's free in your league. I think there's no one out there I wouldn't have thought that has 5 defenders that are all better than Rico Lewis for this week. Next up, we've got Kenny Tete, available in 100% of leagues. My first 100% pick of the season, I think. And that's mainly because many of us drafted Castagna, assuming he was going to be the right back for Fulham. Very attacking towards the end of last season, played really well. But in the last pre-season friendly, Tete played over Castagna, and that was enough to just make me a little bit cautious on drafting Castagna. As it turns out, Tete did keep his place in game week 1, played quite well, very attacking. He's always had quite a lot of attacking threat when he's played, so I'm interested if he keeps his place over this really strong run of fixtures that Fulham have got. I think he could be a really good pick. And the next 3 specifically, Leicester at home, Ipswich away, West Ham at home, I definitely want a piece of that, or multiple pieces, as you might see coming up. So I think Tete is just a really solid waiver pick this week. If we want something a little bit less dangerous, a little bit more assured, Bassi is available in 94% of leagues and almost certain to start. Fulham have just signed or are just about to sign Anderson from Palace, but I would be fairly confident that he would replace Diop instead of Bassi. I don't think he'll play this week for them anyway. I think that would come around too soon. But I think even once he does start, I think it'll be Diop that comes out of the team, because he's a little bit of a mess, whereas Bassi's a little bit calmer and a little bit more assured. So my personal opinion would be that it would be Anderson and Bassi. And as I said, these next 3 fixtures are really strong, so I don't actually even hate the double up. If you're struggling for defenders, I think the fixtures are good enough that it could be worth it. If you want to look somewhere else, you could also look at Richards of Palace, available in 91% of leagues, pretty much certain to start, especially with Anderson leaving. It will be a back three, probably Gahey, Richards and Riyadh, I would assume. But even if Anderson does for some reason stay, then Richards still started anyway. The fixture this week, West Ham at home's nice for Palace, I think. They've kind of got okay fixtures over the next few. Chelsea away in game week 3 is not great, but then it's Leicester at home in 4, which is really strong. So if you can find a decent rotation, maybe with like a Brentford defender who have a good fixture in game week 3, then they could be really good, because these next 2 home games specifically I think are really good shouts at a clean sheet. On to midfielders then, and first up we've got Kovacic. I often don't like tipping the City central midfielders, mainly not, assuming we're not talking about KDB, Foden, and obviously Haaland. But other than that, Haaland has such a high goal involvement for City, over 50% I think, that when you factor in Foden and De Bruyne, who both are around the 25% mark-ish, you'll then get into the point where the rest of the attacking returns are quite thinly spread amongst the rest of the team. And it takes quite a few goals for City, for like the rest of the City team to actually have a decent chance at returning, just because those key figures have such high goal involvement that it becomes quite difficult to consistently pick these players and get returns from them. The amount of years that people have picked Bernardo Silva and he's got a couple of returns and then hasn't returned in like 2 months. Same with Kovacic. Rodri, some people absolutely love him, and he did get an unprecedentedly high number of goals last season, especially in a little stretch towards the start of the season. But in general, they just don't return enough and predictably enough to warrant their picks, really, I don't think. But I will say that this is 1 week, Ipswich at home, where the sort of projected goals that City will score, we're talking about 3+, is enough that it makes him a good pick, because City could quite easily score 5 this weekend, and therefore you're more likely to, get a piece of those returns. Next up, we're looking at Alex Iwobi, available in 75% of leagues. Leicester at home this week, really, really good fixture. I wasn't particularly impressed with Leicester against Spurs. I know they got the point, Jamie Vardy did the business, but I think they were pretty lucky to get away with it. Spurs profligate with a lot of their chances, and I don't see Leicester as a particularly good team. I think they're quite a poor defence, and they're definitely a team I'm going to be targeting in the opening weeks until I'm proved wrong, especially when they're away from home. I think that Fulham should score a couple of goals here. And I like Alex Iwobi. I think actually he's been really good for Fulham over quite a long period of time, and it's kind of gone under the radar a little bit. I know a lot of people will be looking at Emil Smith-Rowe, Muniz, Andreas Pereira, and I get all of those, but I actually think that Muniz is definitely the best pick. Smith-Rowe, I think, probably just behind, and then I think I actually prefer Iwobi to Andreas Pereira. I know Pereira does have pens, which is a big bonus, but I think in open play he's not that far forward, whereas I think Iwobi is really in the final third quite a lot. So I do think he is a very good pick for this week, and they've got Ipswich away next week as well, so that's another good fixture. Then it's West Ham at home, 3 solid fixtures in a row here, and I'll be looking to target them for sure. If you want to go for something a little bit spicier with a little bit more gamble in it, Adama Traore, available in 99% of draft leagues, almost certainly going to start on the right for Fulham, and one sort of data table that I produced for the Patreon members in the game week data review shows all the top 10 teams that have conceded the most chances at each wing. I've just described that so poorly, but it basically ranks each team by how many chances they've conceded on each wing. So like top would be Wolves' left-hand side. So then you can look and see, okay, well, what right winger is playing Wolves next? Leicester's left-hand side was on that list. I think they were the 4th highest for game week 1. So I know it's a small sample size, but if we're looking to target that Leicester left-hand side, then Adama Traore is the one that's going to be playing on the right for Fulham. And to be honest, Fulham do like to just kind of pummel the ball down his side and see what happens. So I do think there is actually a decent chance he could get something this week. And finally, I know it was an absolute disaster. I only got half an hour. Poor Jacob Murphy was the man to be sacrificed after Fabian Schär absolutely lost his head. Available in 54% of leagues still, and it was just, I know a lot of people will have him already or will be like looking at his half an hour thinking there's no way I'd bring him in, but actually I still think he's a good pick for game week 2 and game week 3 as well probably, and then we'll see going on from there. But I think he still starts at Bournemouth. I think it was just a very unlucky that the best fixture they had was the one that, you know, he got hooked after half an hour, but he did look quite lively in that first half an hour. It's just such a shame, that such a disappointment from a pick I had such high hopes for, but I still think he's good for game week 2. Also, we've got Daichi Kamada available in 58% of leagues. I really like the fixture, West Ham at home for Palace. I think there's going to be goals in this, and West Ham also featured quite heavily on that list of teams that concede chances from the wings. Both the left and right hand side were on that list, so I think Eze and Kamada could have a bit of fun in this fixture, and the wing backs as well, Mitchell and Munoz. So yeah, I like the Palace attack. I think they'll probably score a couple of goals in this game. Kamada's got a good chance of being involved. I've had many people ask me if they should waiver him out this week. And for me, he's an absolute hold. I really like this fixture. Okay, if he blanks again against West Ham and looks poor, then we've definitely got a decision to make for game week 3 away to Chelsea. And he's by no means someone that I'm saying you have to hold the whole season, but I think it's silly after one game to drop him when they've got such a good fixture coming up. Finally then, forwards, we've got a new sign-in for Bournemouth, Evan Nilsson, available in 100% of leagues, of course, and he is probably about as good as we're going to get in the forward market for new signings as it looks. You know, there's still people clamouring for the likes of Osimhen. I just don't think that's going to happen. I don't think we're going to get this big forward signing. So Evan Nilsson looks like one that I think is worth taking a risk on. He has a decent record in Portugal. There's a lot of Porto fans saying he's not a goal scorer, but 30 plus goals in a few seasons is not bad. I think it's about 1 in 3, which is fine. And okay, he's not going to be Dominic Solanke, but he could be a decent asset for Bournemouth. And I think if you've got a non-playing forward or a forward that isn't first choice, I think Evan Nilsson's definitely worth taking. Okay, everyone, that wraps up my picks for game week 2. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new, check out the Patreon down below. Don't forget to look at Draft FC and take that 1 month for absolutely for free. Thank you all for watching and listening, and we'll see you next time.